This is a response to a video by Simple to Remember, Why Atheists Don't Believe in God. It features a psychologist, Paul C Vitz, who discusses what he says are the psychological reasons that turn people into atheists. The video description states that Mr. Vitz puts many famous atheists on the couch and comes to the conclusion that atheism is a neurosis. There wouldn't have been a need for me to respond to this video except for the fact that the person posting this video didn't approve my short comments, or maybe hasn't had a chance to yet, but when I hit post comments it said comment pending approval. You may notice that most Christian, Muslim, Jewish videos only post approved comments that agree with their videos. It's because they're cowards and they know logic easily dismantles all of their ideas. This video is 54 minutes of non-stop absurdity passed off as impressive illumination on why people would become atheists. The very act of thinking there is something wrong with atheists and that they need to have a psychologist examine them is highly arrogant and disgustingly condescending. This person spews out his so-called history and findings as if he's already met God and knows for sure he exists to begin with. He starts by saying that if we asked why he or she doesn't believe in God, an atheist would most likely say that it's obvious and that the reasons and evidence for God's existence are not convincing. And he says that they find that the evidence, that atheists say they find the evidence is convincing the other way. And he concedes that. He says that it's true that that's why some people are atheists. But he spends the rest of the video laying out the case that there are psychological reasons for atheism. He does this by citing famous atheists and their families' dysfunctions. He very clearly expresses his belief that bad parenting and, more importantly, bad fathering push people towards abandoning their faith. I can't speak to the validity of the stories, or invalidity, either way, that he tells, but even if I were to concede that they were all true, the validity of the stories of the relationships of those famous atheists makes absolutely no argument for the existence of God. The stories do turn the spotlight, however, and as far as I'm concerned, onto the parenting capabilities of the religious. His entire argument is held up by the idea that these people had bad parents, which begs the question, should we place our efforts so much on religion and proselytizing to others? Should we maybe place more emphasis on raising a healthy and happy family instead of worrying about other people's lives and what they do with their lives? I myself have always had a great relationship with my parents, and it was always based on love and trust. My atheism came not as a result from bad parenting, victimization from religion, or any other desire for vengeance or rebellion. It came simply from a desire to be honest to myself, and that led to my questioning religion. And that wasn't hindered because I didn't tell anyone. I did most of it in private thinking or private reading. Psychological predisposition to any belief has no bearing whatsoever on the greater issue of the validity or invalidity of those beliefs, or any truth for that matter. Psychological testing would be best utilized examining why otherwise intelligent, logical, and sane people who demand truth and knowledge in all other aspects of their lives drop all reasoning, sensibility, and demand for truth when it comes to religion. This biased, poor excuse for a psychologist needs to actually look into why atheists know there is no God, instead of using their stories of personal misfortune to reduce them to mere misguided patients. He needs to ponder the idea that if there was a God, there wouldn't be countless competing religions, just one world with knowledge of its God. This psychologist also concedes that the psychology goes both ways for examining why Christians believe that there is a God and why atheists believe there is no God. With that said, he should also immediately concede that then there's no reason to examine anyone, because both can be examined and both can be reduced somehow to find a reason for why they believe what they do. in this case, we're not worried about why people think what they think psychologically. We're actually worried about the truth. What is the evidence for God? In this case, reading the Bible, reading the Quran to begin with, looking at nature, looking at geography, geology, biology, all kinds of things in science. Plenty of proof that there is no God. Reducing people psychologically doesn't either make a God or stop a God from being in existence. It simply tells something about a person. It doesn't say anything about whether or not there is a God in heaven watching us. If you have time, if you have a few minutes, all it takes is about 10 minutes to watch this video. Once you've gone through the introduction and he starts telling the stories, the rest of the 54 minutes is all the same. He tells you about someone, and he tells you he had bad parents, defective parents, and therefore that's why they abandoned their religion. You can watch the whole thing if you got the time to waste on him, and you can see that he makes absolutely no case for the existence of God, just that some people had bad relationships with their parents. There are plenty of people who do have great relationships with their parents, have the nuclear family, both parents in the house, 2 or 3 siblings, completely happy and healthy, and they don't believe in God because they're logical. And there are plenty of families that are not nuclear. There's only one parent, another parent comes and goes, kids move from one house to another, or they're raised by members of the extended family, grandparents, uncles, aunts, so on, who are Christian. So either way, there's no solid evidence for how a family is structured that has to do anything with whether or not there's a God in heaven. That's just very simple. So if you have time, watch this video and just see how much of an idiot this person is. And I would not have made this video if the person posting the video wasn't such a coward and allowed my simple comments to be immediately posted.